The first part of the complex we see is the commercial section, from which has survived only this side there, less than 1/3. Here at this photo is a reconstruction of how this place was in antiquity as we see it. Where the three wooden steps are, they have placed this gate. Now the gate was described as a monumental gate, but because everybody knew how the gate looked like, nobody wrote down something about this gate. The gate was totally destroyed, and today we are not able to make any suggestion of how this gate used to be. Let's go closer. Feel the shape better. Now, before we speak for the place we are going to visit, I would like you to see down there, among the trees, the three standing columns from the Temple of Athena. And the ruins that are closer to us are the ruins of the gymnasium. During the Pythian Games, the athletes had to be here earlier, at least a month earlier, sometimes even 6 months before the games. The athletes were here to adjust themselves to the local conditions and to be exercised under controlled environment. So the pilgrims, prayed for wisdom to Athena's temple and then came here. You see the precinct wall. Look, the cypress trees and the wall, which comes all the way down. The gate is here and is up to this corner there. So crossing on the other side, we are in the sacred way. Here was the gate where the pilgrims were waiting to open the day of the oracles and to enter inside and to follow the sacred way to the temple. In both sides of the sacred way, this path in front of us, were monuments. Marble monuments, bronze monuments, golden monuments. Today, unfortunately, we have almost nothing of these monuments, but we have a lot of pedestals with inscriptions underneath describing the reasons and why the monuments were erected and who made it, who offered it. A lot of information, but unfortunately we don't have the monument itself. So we continue.
Or inscription.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indicating that
Look
he
here,
paid for the
inscriptions
for the construction of the agora out of his own resources. Idiom.
Who is it?
Trajan.
between 4th century.
Stefana, my braille's not so good. Can you?
I can't help you there.
Yeah, we're straight ahead.
You got that white inscription too?
Most important. This one's easiest to translate.
Yeah.
Got an English translation.
I know. We even know how the words are broken out.
Mm-hmm.
The sacred way.
You don't have to do that. I'm teasing.
Yes, but you have also to see some things. The foundations we see here belong to the treasury of the city-state of Sikion, and the ruins up there to the treasury of the island of the Aegean Sea called Sifnos, both dated 6th century BC. The treasury of Sifnos was as a building elaborated because Sifnians were very rich and didn't offer only rich gifts, but also the place where the gifts were preserved was elaborated highly. And in the museum we are going to see an entire room only with pieces from the sculpture decoration of this small treasury there. Here we have a conic stone, which is found here and is kept here, and fits exactly to the descriptions of Plutarch about this legendary stone, which was in the Holy of Holies, pointed as the center of the earth, the navel of the Mother Earth. A stone that was related with a lot of myths and legends. And just behind, we have the best preserved building today in the whole site. This is the treasury of Athenians. It's preserved because during the Christian era was used as a chapel. So let's go a little bit further up to find a place of shade and to see the facade of this treasury, which gives a very good idea about all the treasuries that today have survived, mostly at the foundation level. They hold more or less the same dimensions and the same shapes. If you like, yeah, come in the shade, please, here. The city-state of Athens, until the time of democracy and the time of the Persian Wars, was small, poor, and insignificant. For that reason, we cannot speak about the treasury of 6th century or before here that belonged to Athenians. Athenians, right after the Persian Wars, found themselves very rich and the focus of interest of all the other Greek states. Very impressive things had happened in Athens. First of all, we have to say that the time when in Athens democracy was born, major events happened also to Asia Minor. The king of Persia, Darius, να σας πω ότι κάνετε πολύ φασαρία. Yeah, they're very loud. It's okay? Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. The king Darius of Persia had extended his vast empire from India to the coast of the Aegean Sea. He had conquered all the Greek city-states, and Athenians, feeling relatives with these Greeks, had sent some aid to them, fact which became. Γιατί είσαστε τόσο θορυβώδεις?
Κώστα, τους είπα να είναι πιο ήσυχοι, αλλά είναι κομματάκι δύσκολο τώρα. Υπομονήστε, 1 λεπτό, κατεβαίνουν όλα τα παιδιά.
Έγινε και
Give us 1 minute only, they're all coming down. But it's very excitement, you know. Sorry. Παιδιά, κατεβαίνετε, γιατί γίνεται ξενάκι. Well, I tried hard.
Thank you, Αγγελική.
Enjoy the rest of your tour.
Thank
All
you.
the screams and voices, right? Yep. Κάτω, κάτω, έλα, όλοι κάτω.
The aid Athenians sent to the Greek states of Asia Minor became the pretext for Darius to attack Athens. And so the year 490 BC, 100,000 Persian soldiers were crossing the Aegean coming against Athens. Athenians were scared to death. The assembly of the citizens was gathered at the Agora, and they made two very important decisions. The first was that all men of Athens from 16 to 65 had to join the army. The second decision had to do with the slaves of the city. If one of the slaves should escape to the Persian camp, revealing the secrets of the city, the very bad situation of the city should become even worse. So the question was, may we kill them all before the Persian attack? Athenians discussed about them. They brought them all to the Agora, and they were ready all together to do to them what they should decide. Athenians finally decided something else. They decided two things to be the same time. The first was to set them all free, and the second, the same time, they proclaimed them all new Athenian citizens with full political rights equal to themselves. Enough for them, the ones who could fight, to fight on their side. And since then, and for a while, the city of Athens was a city of only free people. Very important thing for the society of the Athenians. The time of the golden age of their democracy is identified with the time when the city was a city of free citizens. That is very important. Now, Athenians gathered all together only 10,000 soldiers. Very few. One Athenian for 10 Persians. For that reason, they decided not to face the Persians outside of the city walls, because in the city were children, women, and elderly people. They decided to face them at the place where they were expected to dock, the little port city of Marathon, 42 kilometers away from the city. They went there to fight, ready to die with honor for their freedom and their land, giving the time to the people of the city to evacuate the city. So although they went there not expecting any victory, the master of history had a different idea. And at the end of this day,
Etc.
at the end of the battle,
It's called an
more
etc.
than 6,000 Persian soldiers were killed,
Philosophers, teachers,
and
who
from
gather
the
their students
Athenian
here and
side,
teach.
only
behind
193.
We saw a couple of them on the way up here.
Athenians claim that during the battle they saw supernatural powers fighting
Probably.
on their side.
Just kind of a place to get away
Was
from the crowd.
so
Like
unexpected this victory that even an Athenian soldier who fought all the day The rest, in full armor, decided to run from the battlefield to the city, these 42 kilometers, to announce to the people who were in the city not to evacuate the city because they won. This man is the first marathon runner and the only one of antiquity. Persians left. 10 years later, they came back. But their victory in marathon was so surprising that the sanctuary here was also surprised and gave to them this prominent place on the side of the sacred way to build this building for housing spoils from the marathon's battle. Athenians, put aside the tithe, and that tithe was divided to different major sanctuaries of the Greek world. And the ones who were sent here were housed in this little treasury, and this is why this treasury was built. Now, 10 years later, the year 480 BC, the king Xerxes, the son of Darius, the husband of Esther, decided to come against Athens personally, leading here all his army. According to the ancient historians, his army was 1,700,000 soldiers. They crossed Dardanelles and came from Asia to Europe, and they traversed Thrace, Macedonia, and Thessaly, and there was not even a thought for resistance to such an army. Never before the world had seen such an army marching with all its military equipment. The only resistance they found was organized in a very narrow passageway called Hot Gates, Thermopylae, and was organized there by the king of Sparta and his 300 soldiers. Crazy? Possibly crazy. But they resisted to the great king Xerxes 4 days. For 4 days he was delighted there, and that was time enough for the city of Athens this time to be evacuated. Xerxes arrived in Athens and he leveled the city completely. And when everybody could say that Athens now disappeared, is erased from the records of history forever, again we have the intervention of the master of history. The Persian admirals, considering the way from Athens to Corinth shorter through the straits of the island of Salamis, something which is true, but they didn't estimate the size of their ships. They entered to the straits, they were blocked in the straits. When they realized their mistake, they were panicked, and trying to exit, they started crashing upon their own ships, and they destroyed their own navy, which was loaded with all the food supplies of the army. And was not only the navy lost, but also the food supplies for 1,700,000 men. And this is the reason that finally Xerxes went back home. Athenians felt safe to return in the city after a year, the year 479. This year marks, first of all, the beginning of the golden age of the Athenian democracy, which lasted only 49 years. Added the year 431, when the Peloponnesian War started, the war between Athens and Sparta. Marks also the beginning of the classical era, the classical culture, the culture of democracy, which added some years later, the year 323, the year when Alexander the Great died. The victory in Salamis was the reason that the sanctuary here offered to Athenians all of this area in front of this wall from one to the other corner. This wall behind the rock and behind the olive tree we see here is built by the Athenians, covering a pre-existing retaining wall. Athenians trying to honor their allies, the people of the island of Lesbos, who gave all their ships, 80 ships, to Athenians for the evacuation of the city and the fight against the Persians. Yeah, Athenians built that wall according to their building style. This is the building style of the people of Lesbos. Looks like polygonic, is not polygonic, because as you see, the edges of the blocks are curves, are not straight. That building style was developed initially as an anti-seismic building style. It's very beautiful, yeah, and is the characteristic of the people of Lesbos. Now, Athenians decided to honor also their slaves, the former slaves of the city, which became the new citizens now, and to whom Athenians attributed a lot of their glory. For that reason, they put on this wall the treaty of their liberation and the list with their names, immortalizing them until today. Since then, 5th century BC until 4th century AD, Athenians added on this wall 800 more inscriptions, all of the same character, liberation of slaves by the Athenian state for different reasons. So, a part of being a very nice building style, this wall itself is a record, a very, very important record. Now, going closer, we are going to see the inscriptions. In front of this wall, Athenians built a porch under the roof of which they housed spoils from the sea battle of Salamis. We continue on the sacred way further. Συγγνώμη για τις φωνές μου, δεν το κατάλαβα, μετά σας πω ευχαριστώ. This is a seat, and at the same time a pedestal for statues at the top. And we have semicircular and rectangular.
It's called an exedra.
Exedra, yes.
It's where philosophers, teachers would gather some of their students together.
Yes. We have the exedra and the cathedra. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
So for you, those of you who have a headache, you want to sit in the exedra.
Yes, sorry.
We have
I would
an
like
aspirin
you
called excedrin.
to see this upper part of an Ionic marble column with the capital. We know from the written sources that the temple outside had a Doric colonnade, inside an Ionic marble colonnade. Unfortunately, no one of the columns was found in situ, intact. Everywhere the archaeologists found scattered pieces. But here you see some holes where the lead still is preserved inside. And that gave the opportunity to the archaeologists to find out that the attachments, the metallic attachments that were here, were golden. That gives us the opportunity to think that possibly we have a part of the inner colonnade of the temple here. As we came closer to the wall, yeah, we see the inscriptions. Look the letters, how small they are, but fully readable. And if you come on the side, you see the lines, yeah, of all these inscriptions. Yeah, it's really impressive. Yeah, somebody to see all the slave liberation treaties here, 800.
So has anybody like transcribed all this into
Of
a book?
course, yeah. They exist. Yeah, the archives of the museum, they have it, all of them. And now we are at the last part of the Sacred Way. The gray marble structure on the left side is the back side of the main altar of Apollo, and the spiral bronze column you see is a copy of the original, which is in Constantinople in the Hippodrome. Was a monument removed officially from here by Constantine the Great. Yeah, and this monument was the base of the tripod, actually, the golden tripod the Greek states offered to Apollo after the end of the Persian Wars. Yeah, and on the body of the three snakes, we have here, we have the names of the 31 states that participated to the Persian Wars. We are at the front of the temple here. You see the ramp, and here is the place where the pilgrims gave their written request to the priests, and the list was formed for them. And the day of the oracles, they entered inside, escorting the high priestess. I would like us to continue in higher level to see the ruins of the temple from above, panoramically, to speak a little bit more about that. Yes.
Ramp is the entrance?
Ramp, yes.
Oh.
Another unusual component for the Greek temples. Remember, this is main characteristic of the Temple of Jerusalem. So we continue higher. Now, before we go higher, possibly you can see the picture, which is here, giving a reconstruction of the place that we are facing. The altar. This altar here. The temple behind.
Oh, yeah.
This is the pedestal of the statue, and look this column here as it was when it was offered. Now we can continue higher. The shade is not that much here, but please try to be in the shade.
So where would the tripod have been? In the middle?
This is why we came here,
Aha.
to see this place. The columns we see are all reconstructed with ancient material gathered around by the archaeologists for giving an idea of the third dimension of the temple to us. The only intact parts of the temple is that part of the floor and the foundations of the part behind. The block you see there is one block of the cella wall. In both sides of the block you see a groove, showing where the foundations of the actual temple were, surrounding the whole monument. The soldiers of Theodosius who demolished this building spent a long time here to demolish everything down to the foundations. They took off even the foundations of the temple. Now, the archaeologists knew that never they will be able to make an actual and precise inner reconstruction of this temple because of the severe destruction. But they were pretty sure they should find this famous crevice on the ground. They dug all the way down to the bedrock, where you see these two blocks in the middle of the grass, one upon the other. You see there? There is identified with the inner chamber. They went all the way down to the bedrock and they found nothing. And for first time, the activity of Delphi was put, excuse me,
For the first time it was put where? What?
was put in a doubt. And so since the middle of 19th century until the end of 20th century, there were a lot of discussions and a lot of theories about what happened with that crevice, which is mentioned by all the authors who speak about Delphi, and they are many. They had spoken about pipe system, bombing inside gases, different theories. At the end of 20th century, we think we got the key of the Delphic mystery. A team of geologists of the Kentucky State University, together with some colleagues of them from Holland, searching at the area here, which is very active geologically, they made some very impressive discoveries. First, they found that at the place where you see the two blocks, one upon the other, in the main of the place of the grass, two natural faults cross when coming from in between of these two rocks all along the temple, and the other is coming from the area of the theater. And definitely there was the crevice on the ground. Second, the crevice was blocked naturally because of an earthquake. An earthquake dated by them between 1st century BC and 1st century AD. An earthquake that no one of the ancient historians mentioned. Second, attached to the temple on the other side is the sacred fountain of the high priestess. They found that the water comes from this area naturally and naturally crosses the area of the crevice and comes on the other side. Now, on this side, the water is common water like the water of the area. coming out on the other side after crosses the area of the crevice, comes out extremely rich in a cocktail of hydrocarbons. Main hydrocarbons are ethane, ethylene, and methane. Hydrocarbons used still today as a cocktail by many sniffers to get high. Something which gives explanations to many strange and weird informations we have from the ancient time. First of all, her voice was changed into a man's voice. We know that the hydrocarbons make the vocal cords to swallow, and that changes, the character of the voice. Her life, since she started entering inside once per month, was limited to 10 years. Her life expectancy was 10 years. So after her 50s, she got the duty of high priestess, and around her 60s, she died. She was poisoned, been every month bathing in hydrocarbons, drinking hydrocarbons, and sniffing hydrocarbons. 2 times the temple was destroyed in antiquity by fire, a mysterious inner fire which started after explosions, once in 6th century BC and another time in 4th century BC. In the temple was kept the sacred flame, the eternal flame. The flame and the hydrocarbons are explosive. We could say a lot about that, and we think that here we have ecstatic practices based on drugs. Is there any question?
Well, that explains it, a lot of it, but it doesn't explain that they got the oracles correct, that they accurately predicted the future.
The ecstatic experience leading somebody out of the limits of the body brings him in a contact with the spiritual world.
Okay.
The spiritual world is not all positive. We have also the negative spiritual world, which tries to build its own credibility. God, tolerate this kind of credibility for the sake of all the nations who are living far from him, until the last oracle was delivered and then silence forever.
Which was right before the birth of
Good
Jesus,
explanation.
30 years or so.
Yeah.
I agree with your assessment.
So the drugs quite literally
It's done.
brought them in contact with.
Oh definitely was a demonic activity here, a demonic activity, like the activity have the people who use LSD or other illusioners, to gain knowledge from the beyond world. Now you can have some free time. You can explore the place by yourself. You can see the theater. I'm sure you have seen a lot of theaters in Asia Minor. Further up to the top at the ridge, is the stadium of the Pythian Games. How much free time do you like?
5 minutes, 3 minutes.
How far up?
This is my delight.
How far up is it?
It's far. It's far. You need about 20 minutes walk, to go all the way to the stadium.